So we have with us Matt and Ross Duffer. First, I must say I want to acknowledge the students when I walked out of the building last night at 10:30. That was amazing. I was going to say, you see some students nodding off. It's probably because they were up all night waiting to see you guys. Okay, well, welcome back. So you were, this is kind of, like last time I think we were closer. Yeah, I don't know. Was anyone here 3 years ago? I think seniors would have been. Yeah, I see someone covering their face. Okay, good. So it was interesting because we resolved one of the great mysteries, if you remember.
I do.
Okay, so of course the big question was, and I kept it to the end, the big mystery, and actually was asked at dinner, was the influence Chapman had on their writing, and by that I always know what people mean, which is the basement of Chapman. And so the photo, please. Where's the photo? There we go. So just so you know, they had never been there.
That's right.
So it's interesting. So we went over there, but we solved that mystery.
It's a fake rumor. It's not.
It's a fake rumor. What's an urban myth?
It's an urban.
Wait, honestly, though, I don't. What about this basement is reminiscent of the show?
Oh, they would have to tell you because someone at dinner.
It just
They
looks like just a regular corridor to me.
Yeah, but you guys are.
Are you saying it, or is it haunted? It's supposed to be
fascinated by
haunted.
it. When you went there, I remember you guys were like, "Wow, I wish we'd been down here. It would have inspired us."
Yeah, that sounds like something I would have said.
Okay, so I have some questions. So I have some questions, maybe 35 minutes, 40 minutes, and then we'll open it up to the students. And the first question is, kind of the obvious question, which is, why did you choose Chapman over other choices or other film schools? And I know
Because it's the best.
Good answer.
Also, USC and NYU rejected us.
Okay. This is going to be a short interview. But there was something more. There's a reason you came here.
I'll be serious. I mean, those are true, but I think true stories. I think for us, what we were really excited about was that we could start making movies right away in visual storytelling class. Like, you got a camera day one. That was always the pitch, and we had been making movies since we were in 4th grade. So the thought, which was at a lot of these film schools, and even the prestigious ones, no one even, when we started, Chapman is now, but at the time, it was much smaller. No one really knew what it was outside of Orange County. And so there were a lot of these film schools where you have to do 2 years, and you have to do all your classes, and then you can start making films. And we honestly, we didn't want to wait.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I don't really have much to add to that. I mean, they were he also supportive of us directing together, which was unusual. That that they were, it was made clear because we were coming in saying, "Hey, we make everything together," and Chapman said, "Yeah, you can make your movies here as a team," and so that was a big deal for us. But there weren't a ton of other options. Is the honest truth. That were that exciting. I mean, there aren't that many film schools in the country with the kind of equipment you need to be able to make a
And
film.
I think there is good, there's North Carolina School of Arts, which is actually a very good school, and we were talking about Florida State that we almost went to, but there's also the benefit of Chapman. It's an incredible film school, but being so close to LA, which is we're from North Carolina, we didn't know anyone in the entertainment industry. So to be that close and allowing us to intern and actually get to know people, make connections. I mean, we wouldn't be here today if we had gone to some school in another state.
Isn't that like a Chapman slogan, like a heartbeat from LA or something like that?
long heartbeat.
That's what I was like. It's kind
I
of.
spent 15 minutes on the train every morning. I wouldn't call that a heartbeat.
It was an hour and a half to get here
Yeah.
from Hollywood.
Yeah, well, it depends how you define heartbeat, I guess. And then, if I remember correctly, you took all your classes together.
That's not true.
No.
No, I don't think
We
so.
did take a lot together. That is true. We didn't take all of them, but
Spanish?
we did.
Did you guys take Spanish classes?
We didn't take Spanish.
Oh, I thought
No, we were in different
What are
middle
you
storytelling.
Spanish?
You guys took... Anyhow. Moving on.
When are we getting a new someone new to interview us?
Okay. So they saw the documentary, the behind the scenes, so you all fall down.
Oh, the one Eunice made?
Yeah.
Oh,
my
actually,
God.
I should do. We'll talk. I do need that.
Oh,
Do
right.
you have the DVD?
Yeah, I'll get it to you. I sent it to you a few years ago.
You did? Yeah.
The link. Okay, so, but I will do it again. So do you want to talk a little bit about that experience?
Of We All Fall Down?
Yeah.
specifically? Well, it was something which we pitched multiple times to you, which is to bring back location filmmaking. This is an incredible class.
You guys can fund it.
Oh, we could find it.
Yeah, that's how it works.
That's right.
Then we'll happily bring it back.
But it was a class like an inner term to explain to the
Yeah,
students that
explain
don't
to them,
that
yeah.
don't have this privilege anymore.
Yeah.
It was an
Wait,
inner.
is there still there's still the interterm?
Yeah, Interterm
Yeah.
is still here.
Yeah.
Okay, so during interterm, they were the faculty. You could submit scripts for short films, and the faculty would select. I can't remember. It was five.
Six.
Five,
Yeah.
six.
One was a 35 millimeter, the other 5 or 16, Super 16.
Right, and so we were only sophomores at the time, but our script was selected, and we were really nervous because we had never directed anything on that scale before. We had just done the really short stuff on digital for digital storytelling. But I think what's incredible about it is because no one had any other classes at that time, and so everyone was available to help, whether it was to produce.
Well, they were signing
back.
like people would sign up
Yeah.
to work on a location film, and then they would take on different roles. So we had an AD and a producer and grips and dolly grips and whatever, and all the students would kind of work together. And it wasn't trying to like beg people to come out on the weekend and help you do your film. It was a class credit. This is why the class was so awesome and should return. No, it was a really great experience, and it was like I was saying, the first time on a set, working with actors, and the film didn't completely work, but it was it was a huge experience for us because it was a big jump from in scale in terms of what we had been making. I don't know what did it. Because Chapman paid for it, that was the other. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
That we would need to pay
It's
for
like
it,
it's
so.
almost like a
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
like 10 grand or something.
Yeah.
Which felt
Yeah.
10 grand.
10 grand. We
Yeah,
were
10
like,
grand.
whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. And what did you? I mean, is there an experience you took away going in? Because then, I think you had the Superman film, which I'm a big fan of. And then
The only one. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
someday you'll
Yeah.
see. The French will recognize it as a work of art. Then you did Eater,
Yeah.
which So what you? I mean, is there anything specific about that experience that you felt you learned a lot from, or?
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead. No, I mean it was a complicated. It was actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it's short, but it's very complicated production in terms of organizing all that.
Yeah.
So I think for us, it was really the first time all the little short stuff we had made before we hadn't really collaborated with other students, whether it's DP, Kyle Kluge shot it. I'm still close friends with Kyle, and Maylene AD'd it, and she's.
No, it was Marion.
Marion.
Sorry, that's right. Marion did it, and she's incredible.
Yeah.
And doing incredible stuff. And so I think it was just actually we didn't know what the role of an AD was. We didn't know really truly what a DP did or how to set up a C-stand. So it was just working with all these incredible people and learning those jobs. And I think
I said this at dinner, but I mean, it's true of both those films. So, We All Fall Down and then our senior thesis, but it's really remarkable how well it trains you for working on a larger budget film or show. Because we went, the big thing we got after that was a Warner Brothers thing that they didn't end up liking, but it was like $10 million, which is low for a studio film, but like that was a lot of money for us, and it was pretty comparable experience in terms of what it felt like to making a student film. It was just a lot better because you're not dealing with the catering on top of it and all that other, like, get everybody warm meals. So there's all that, and permits, like we don't have to worry about permits anymore, but it's great to actually have to go through that whole process. So yeah, I mean, I don't think I even knew what a C-stand was before We All Fall Down. So that's how much we learned, from that experience, how green we were going into that.
Yeah, what impressed me is you had a horse. You remember that? There was a horse.
Yeah, what was the issue with the horse?
Well, we worked with, Rob got us, we worked with this Renaissance fair, and it was so sketchy, man. There was nightmare stories with all of that Renaissance fair. I wish I remember that guy's name.
That could be the horror film.
It was so scary.
But didn't we end up having the horse in like Beverly Hills?
No, it was in Pasadena. It was in Pasadena, someone's backyard.
Yeah, no,
so
we
mad.
realized, I think that at that point we realized we didn't have a permit.
Yes,
you
guys were hiding from the police.
Yeah. Listen, it's okay to cut some corners.
No.
You've got to.
No. Okay, so then Eater, which I remember seeing it. You sent me at some point. I was at home alone. I'll never forget that. On headphones, watching it. You sent me a copy of it. It really freaked me out watching it. So what inspired it, and what were the challenges in making? Especially since most of these students are either about to make a senior thesis project, or will be working on one.
Right.
I think, well, it's based on a short story that we really liked, and we got permission from the author. I think at that point we were early on, and I think we've talked about this with you, is we didn't see ourselves as writers, and so we were very anxious about writing, and we hadn't spent a lot of time doing it. So I think we felt safer with not to do an original, which is why we read a bunch of horror short stories, and this one really, we said this is very contained and very simple. And we didn't want to make the mistake, which you rightly criticize us for, on We All Fall Down, which is that was sort of like a feature-length movie scrunched together in 15 minutes, whereas Eater was much more contained, very simple story, and we knew it was a single location, so we knew that we could probably figure it out. It was actually pretty difficult to find a jail that didn't cost a lot of money to shoot at, but once we found that location, it started to fall into place. But that's, it's how long is it? It's 15 minutes, and it's that was 6 months of work just to prep and to get it there. But the lead of Eater, Emmanuel, we just put him in the new season of Stranger Things. Oh. Full circle moment.
There's a shot in Eater where like the first shot we shot with him, which was in like a long corridor with lights like booming down as he's walking out. We did it, that was the first. You'll see, it's identical. We copied the shot.
Awesome.
So he's sweet. And we put his daughter in the show. She's very sweet too. She played but she's like a real. It wasn't like a favor. Like he auditioned, he got the role, and then his daughter played one of Spielberg's sisters in The Fabelmans. So she actually is like a legit little actress.
And any advice for the students about? I know this was a long time ago, but
about what?
You're making the senior thesis.
Oh, no. I think what your advice. I'm not trying to make you feel too good about yourself, but your advice was it was so hard for us because I know all of us are, either watching TV shows which are hours and hours long, or movies which are 2 hours. So it is the short film is a different art form. So you need to be writing, I think, specifically for that, and not trying to overdo it. I mean, I think we did this with our sophomore film, and I saw so many students do this. We were trying to make something like some like grand statement. Like I'm always like, and I'm always saying this to people who are writing their first scripts too. I'm like, just make something that works. Like that is a win, because most things don't even work on a fundamental level. And so even if it feels a little generic or whatever, focus on that, and then you can start to layer it and get a little fancier. So I think too much of it's like you're putting so much pressure on it that you end up sort of overthinking it, and then it just probably it risks. It could not.
Well, it's like it could just be a scene. It could be something really simple. You're not going to make The Godfather in 10 minutes. Like it can't. It's not possible. So it's like, what can I just tell a simple, good story in as few scenes as possible? And it's almost like you use the limitations to your advantage, which is, it's sort of like you're making a low budget movie. Don't try to make it feel like a big budget movie. Do what like Sean Baker did when he started out. It's like you take those limitations and you go, this is an advantage for me. And I think that's sort of whatever your budget is for your short film, whatever time you have, you just go, let me lean into that instead of trying to make it more than it should be.
The only other lesson I was like, just don't. Our generator was way too close to location, and we had to ADR the whole thing, which sucks. You can tell.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I know you like that the dialogue sounds clean, but like it's just the performances got worse for sure. So just make sure your generator's not too close to wherever you're shooting.
Okay. So I have your permission in the future to say the Duffer brothers think that I have a good perspective on this process?
Yeah,
okay.
on that one thing.
Okay. Okay. What are the things or the one thing you wish you had learned in film school?
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to. Well, I mean, we were talking about this at dinner. There was definitely things that we wished we had learned that were available things at the school that we just did not do. Like we should have. We really regret not spending a lot more time in learning cinematography, learning lenses. We've had to play catch up on a lot of that. And I was telling one of the students she was asking about. Should she be? Is it worth spending time exploring all these other things, production design, costuming, whatever? And I was like, absolutely. You should be trying everything. First of all, you might fall in love with one of these things you're trying, and also it's good to know as much as you can about every part of the process. Like James Cameron, or like you go to James Cameron and David Fincher, they think they can do everyone's job better than they can do it. But I mean, that is, that would be great to be able to get to that point where you're feeling like you're fully know how every area works. So I think frankly, it took us about 10 years of making the show where I actually feel kind of fairly confident in all the areas, but it was like 10 years. So the sooner you get ahead of that, the better. In terms of stuff that we did try to learn here that was tricky, I think, but it's just going to be tricky no matter what, which is the writing process, just learning how to write. I mean, there's a lot of emphasis on, Ross and I have a very specific point of view on this, but there's just so much focus on structure, like 3-act structures, 7-act structures, save the cat. Like I fucking, if one more person references that, like I just like it's not, like it's not. Listen. I think whatever helps you. I think everybody has their own process. I have a lot of real friends I love who do rely on, say, that book or the structure books. I don't want to put it down, but for us, it actually probably put us behind years because we just kept trying to wedge our stuff into this structure. And my thing is, if you're like Ross and I, which I imagine a lot of you are, which is you just you're watching a ton of movies and shows, that the structure of those shows, you're gonna inherently know what feels right, when the story is getting boring and needs to make a turn. So when Ross and I write these things, it actually fits into the structure. The structure analysis is not wrong. I'm not saying it's wrong. Mm-hmm. I just think the process of starting from that point and building your story around that structure makes it harder than it needs to be. Like I think you'll do it naturally. Is my point. If you take the time to outline and just kind of put all that out of your head, maybe it's worth learning about and then never thinking about it again. Just ingest it; it'll be in there subconsciously, and then go away. But I think the more valuable thing is to read a lot of scripts. I don't like reading scripts, frankly, but you should, and watch a lot. Watch a lot. Read bad scripts, good scripts. Mediocre scripts, bad movies, good movies, Don't just watch the great stuff because you're going to feel bad about yourself. Read the bad stuff. That was one of the things that actually encouraged Ross and I were doing a lot of internships, and one of the things that encouraged us and gave us the confidence to write was just reading a lot of really, not great scripts that were, especially in the horror genre space. There's like a lot of this stuff was pretty bad, and I was like, and this stuff was selling. And I was like, okay, I can write this level, this is not, I think this is within, I can do this. You can't just read Stephen King, because you're like, oh my God, I can't do this. It just gets depressing.
I mean, I assume you wrote coverage, too.
We wrote coverage.
I assume that helps a lot, because
coverage
you have
is good.
to...
Yeah, you should write coverage.
You're actually processing.
Read, write coverage, yeah.
During the internships, then, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Ross,
No, that sounded great.
Okay. Are you in? Okay. Talk a little bit about what your plan was, like when you were in film school. Like, what was your plan to succeed in the business, and how did it turn out? Like, what happened? Take us through, kind of that journey.
I mean, I am proud of our younger selves, and then we did have the plan was to, one part of it was different, which is, but we realized our mistake halfway through college that we needed to start writing. Because I think the dream before that is like, it's the Spielberg thing. He made Amblin, the short film, and he got hired on TV, and it's so rare now to get a directing job off a short film. It almost never happens. But we realized that partway through, and so we did start to focus on writing, and then focused on internships, and got our script to some of that. I'd spent a year or so getting to know, and he got that to an agent. We got an agent, so all of that actually kind of worked out how we had planned, which was a little shocking to us at the time. But we did. It was calculated. It wasn't like, oh wow, it happened to land at an agent's thing. It's like, no, we're gonna really figure out how to get an agent by the time we got out of school. And we managed to do that.
Yeah, I think I was always impressed that you always had, it seemed, a plan.
We had a plan. We did have a plan.
Yeah, which I'm not. I assume a lot of students do, but you definitely had a plan, and the plan worked out.
A plan, and a drive. And a drive, I think.
Yeah. Okay. This is an interesting question. Actually, when we have a German exchange student who was telling me the other day, said, "Oh, their pitch deck for Stranger Things is like the pitch deck in Europe in film schools."
Really?
Oh yeah. And apparently, they all use it.
Yeah, I know.
Can you talk a little bit about how the importance of the pitch deck and how you developed it?
I know it's been around. I've seen it around, and a lot of people use it as a reference because the show sold on SPAC, which is rare, and then on top of that became successful. So I think this is another thing. Just learns during Chapman we learned Photoshop, and we learned we're not amazing at Photoshop, but enough to do pretty basic stuff, and that's how we ended up developing that. You have to do a lookbook, but we devised it to look like an old Stephen King novel, and simple. But we knew, again, this is when you use your limitations. We knew our Photoshop limitations, and we kind of kept it simple enough that we knew we would be able to pull it off on Photoshop. Maybe it took like a week or so to make. And just very simple, we talked about themes, characters, just very basic, simple stuff. We have it very simple and clean.
Yeah, I don't know why it's a reference. It seems pretty straightforward. We didn't spend super long on it. I think it did a good job of showing, just very quickly evoking the show. Like if people were able to look at it and understand, what the show was and what we were trying to do pretty simply.
Totally,
But also now it's easy to say that. Look, we were at a bunch of different companies and producers who, I remember one of them. We left. I'm sure they're regret this now, but we were with another producer, and they said you can't reference films while you're pitching the show because television executives don't know films. And I was like, they don't know Jaws? Like, they don't know... I was like, I don't know how to pitch this show if you can't reference a film. And then we left. So, I don't know.
I think it can be an effective, simple way to communicate just tonally and visually what you're thinking.
So, and I think we touched upon it at dinner, but how do you write together? How do you work together?
I mean, I do think with writing, everybody has their own process, and it took us a while to find our process. So I would not say that this is what you should do. And I'm sure most of you don't. Some of you probably work with writing partners, and some of you don't. But either way, if you're in TV, you are going to be working and collaborating with other people. Even if you wanted to work alone, you're no longer allowed to do that per our union. So the way we do it, and the big thing I wish someone had told us, and again, everyone's process is different, is Ross and I spend longer, I think, on average, outlining than we do writing the actual script. So a ton of effort and time is spent in just making sure the outline. That doesn't mean it's like fixed in place as we're writing it. It evolves. Characters don't want to do what you've outlined for them, so you kind of, you have to adjust. But we spend a lot of time. We start really zoomed out, very, very broad. What are the big beats you want to hit within that story? What's going to happen in this episode? You spend a long time on that, and you blue sky it, just any ideas. And then once you hone in on those, then you get a little more detail, a little more detail, a little more detail. We're writing all this out, usually on Google Docs, with us and our other writers. And then at a certain point, if it's a script we're writing, then we go away and then we kind of rough out each scene, a little bit more detailed and outlined. Like this is how careful we're just like we wait a long time before we actually take it into final draft and work on it. And one of the reasons is that Google Docs allows, obviously, Ross and I to be on the same document at the same time. So even we're doing dialogue on Google Docs. We write at the same time, obviously on different computers. We don't talk to each other. We have headphones on. If we're getting in fights, it just involves like him deleting like with sentences or words. Or like write a piece of dialogue and then suddenly gone. And then I was like, I thought I wrote. Then I put it back. It's gone again. And then we get into the headphones come off. And we get it. But that's how we do it. And it took us a long time to figure out that process. And I don't think that's probably what would work for you, but just figuring out the most efficient way to do it, and that is for Ross and I know we know a lot of other people who just do the vomit draft thing, which doesn't work for us, but I think it works for a lot of people where you just sort of stream of consciousness, get out a first draft, it's bad, learn from it, and so on. I just think it takes up so much more time because we've had to learn to be pretty fast. Which I know people think we're super slow. So, my defense is it's like 13 hours. I told you this at dinner, but it's like 13 hours in 3 years. That's fucking fast. I feel like it's pretty fast. We're directing half the episodes.
Okay. Ross, you want to add to that?
No, that sounded great.
And how do you work out when you have disagreements? goodness, how does that work?
We usually just talk it out. I mean, we were talking to Dan and David, who are the Game of Thrones creators, and we asked them the same question, because we don't actually have a good solution to this when we disagree. And they're like, and I think their answer sort of applies to us, which is like, well, usually one of us is just more passionate about it than the other. And so it's like, whoever really cares more at the end of the day wins the argument. And sometimes arguments are fast and short, and then sometimes they could extend over,
The other thing I was saying, someone's usually right and the other person's wrong, and eventually that will reveal itself.
Look what you started. Look what's happening.
Okay. Well, so it's interesting because you are collaborators. You've always been collaborators, and so when you're writing, it's a collaboration. Obviously, that's a great advantage, I think, over people that write alone. I mean, do you feel that way? I mean, do you feel that sometimes it really helps you writing because you're kind of bouncing things off of each other?
I think for us that we can't imagine doing it, just because it really helps to have that sounding board. For us, obviously you can get bogged down because you're debating stuff, but it ultimately helps, and even with the writers' room, it really helps because we'll get stuck. And then, maybe we're writing something in a scene and we're stuck on something. It could be a line of dialogue, it could be a plot point. And then we'll go down and talk to the writers, and they'll throw out 20 ideas, and 19 of them are not right, but one of them jars something loose. And to us, that it really does speed up the process. But, I mean, we've never known anything else, so it's hard to say.
Okay. Let's see.
You have to work on your transition.
Very natural. You are the only people I interview. It's like every 3 years.
But it's
like,
tone.
whoa,
The tone in
interview
which
the
you
Duffers.
say, okay.
You guys like that?
Yeah, we do like it. I always forget, and every time we come back here, I'm like, oh, here we go.
See? Okay. Down for the okay. The Kowalski okay. Okay. Let's see. I've got a whole bunch of exciting questions here. Oh, music. Yeah, how do you pick the music for the show?
Are you doing like the score? Are you talking about like the music, like
the Kate Bush.
the Kate Bush or something like that?
Yeah.
It depends. I mean, usually if it's a pivotal song that's going to play the emotional part, like say Running Up That Hill or Should I Stay or Should I Go on season 1. That comes very early, sometime during the script phase, and usually it's just Matt and I listening to a lot of it. We're actually not. Our music knowledge is actually shockingly low, because we spend so much time watching movies that we know too much about movies and not enough about music. So, but in some ways it gives us what we think is an advantage, because I don't actually have a nostalgia for these songs. So I'm not like, oh, this song is important to me, and I can hear something like Running Up That Hill, and it wasn't important to me in my youth, but we can see this, that it will work for an audience today, because this song holds up in a way that it's not just based on nostalgia. So it's usually us just listening to a lot of music is the bottom line.
And so Kate Bush, you just discovered it.
We knew who Kate Bush was. We weren't like, again, we don't listen to much music, to be honest with you. But I was like,
while you're writing?
Movie music. Movie music, I know everything. We know everybody.
If it's like a horror scene, we'll listen to
that's
the
interesting.
Hereditary
So
score
you're
or
setting
something.
the tone when you're writing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I try to match what the vibe of the scene with the music. Like it's a musical score that matches the tone of the scene. I can't deal with lyrics well. Also, I think we spent about a week. We compiled separate Spotify playlists for what we thought Max's favorite songs would be, because we know the character really well, and we both had Running Up the Hill on there. And then we have a music supervisor as well, and she
Mhm.
sent us a list and also had it running up the hill. And we were like, okay,
Oh, wow.
well, I guess it should be running up that hill. and then you just hope that, like, Kate Bush was great, you know.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
was, you know, really, really supportive.
Like we were near the end of like post production, and they're like, we have to send all the scenes to Kate to get her approval. And I was like, well, what if she doesn't approve? We're fucked. That would have been real bad. It's integral to the plot, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know what we would have done, but anyways, it all worked out.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I mean, every once in a while we have students who write scripts that are based on an original song, and we're always like,
oh
yes, that might be an issue. So, okay, let's move on. I mean, this has been talked about, but I think it's an interesting one. Is how do the two of you split creative duties? Like, how does that work when you're directing? I mean, the writing we've talked about.
Mm-hmm. I think directing on set. I mean, we don't really. We kind of do. We kind of do everything. We try to make all. Because once you go, I mean, you guys will know. You've been on even a student film set. It's the same. This is why I'm saying it's kind of the same. It's a really perfect microcosm of what it feels like, which is money's being burnt every minute, so that it's a high pressure situation. You're having to move faster than you want to move. So the more you've decided and figured out ahead of time, that doesn't mean, again, it's sort of like an outline. It's like, that doesn't mean it has to stay that way or you can't be flexible or make discoveries. That happens every single day. But if you have it planned out as well as you can, then you're going in and you're feeling you're feeling confident, in a real way. And I think that's.
And I think we've discussed it enough that but again, we're also twins. But we can, we can just share a look, and we know if we want something different, where we have camera or performance, or whatnot, and we sort of trade off who's, maybe he'll go talk to camera, I'll talk to actors, but there's not a specific way that we split duties. Yeah.
I mean, the key is that people think we don't ever disagree. So it's very important we keep our disagreements. You can't be seen disagreeing in front of people. So the disagreement.
You gotta instill confidence in people.
Is there a disagreement look, and what does it look like?
You know who hears us? Because there is the guy who runs our video playback, who he can hear us. Because I'll say, can you play that scene back or whatever. So he hears us 14 hours a day. So he's heard some shit. I don't know. He knows everything.
He should write the biography.
I hope, I don't know.
And is there a good cop, bad cop routine with you
No.
guys? No? You're both good cops?
No.
Oh.
I mean, listen, there's sometimes you don't want to have to go in on set, because there's certain situations you don't want to have to be dealing with, so then we'll, be like, your turn.
Oh, okay.
Your turn to go deal with that.
Oh, okay. That's,
Yeah.
okay. Let's see, what do I have here? What part of the filmmaking process do you enjoy the most? And which part you maybe not enjoy? And again, maybe you enjoy all of it. So
I think we have different answers here, which is that I love. For me, he's more talkative and likes being the center of attention. No, I like a more intimate situation, which is why I really like writing. I like keeping it really small, and I feel more comfortable in that environment. And he feels more. Matt really loves production and the energy that brings. And then we both love post. So I think if anything, production is his specialty, and then writing is where I really thrive, or at least where I feel more comfortable. And then post, we've always loved post. I think it comes from early editing on iMovie and editing our movies together. And like Matt was saying, we came out of Chapman, we're writing not knowing cinematography and how to light a basic scene. That was sad that we didn't learn that, even though there were opportunities for here. But we did learn editing, we did learn Avid, and we know it really well. And I think that is just one of our great loves. And we would edit other students' projects for them in senior theses, and we love doing that.
But I think regardless, I think it's so cool. What I love about film and working on film and TV is just that there's there's 3 phases of writing and then production and post-production that you split. It really is a third. You spend as much time in writing as you do shooting, as you do editing, and they're so different. And they're all fun and maddening and all the different ways. I would say post is the most relaxed. So we're in post-production now. This is the most relaxed I've been. Production is the most stressful, but it just is kind of an adrenaline rush. And then writing is just, it's the hardest. I think writing is the hardest. Because at the end of the day, it's just you that has to figure this stuff out. So production, as brutal as it is, you have so many incredible people helping you solve problems. I mean, sometimes if something's not working, you do have to figure it out, but you have a lot of really smart people helping you figure that out, especially if you hire the right people. And then writing can feel very lonely and scary, even with a writer's room. So, I don't know.
And actors, how do you work with the actors?
I mean, it depends on the actor, it's, we used to be really bad, working with actors. I try to, you have to, because don't you think, Ross, I mean, they all need different things. I mean, and they all, because we have a lot of actors on our show now, 17 regulars. So the more you kind of understand, so David, you cannot tell him to go, hey, this seems like a good chair for you to be sitting in because there are lights and cameras set. He'll go stand in the corner over there. So, because he's like, I'm not going to sit here. And so but it's kind of fun because you have to, he's very,
It never does what you expect,
No.
I think, but it's very alive.
Yeah.
So when Matt's saying, and was saying earlier, it's like you have a plan. And when we did our first film that we made for Warner Brothers, I think that was one of our biggest flaws is we planned it out to a T where it's like, and then so when we had these amazing, we had Andrew Riseborough and Alex Skarsgård, these amazing actors, and they're like, what if I do this? And we're like, no, but we got to stand here because we're gonna dolly around like this and whatever. And part of that comes from an experience, whereas now we show up in these amazing actors, whether it's David Harbour or Joe Quinn, and they're going to go, well, no, what if I do this, and what if I come up here? And then you kind of we now have enough experience that we can build off of that and go, well, what if the camera comes over here and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes you can be like, well, maybe you can stand in the corner, but it'll look bad for all of us. So maybe you don't. Maybe you just find the light over here, and then you figure out maybe if we can, when you say this line, you move here. And I think there's a dance there, and I think for us, that's actually the most joyful part of directing actors is when it feels like a true collaboration. I mean, it's fun season 1 with the kids because they'll stand wherever you tell them to stand. They'll do exactly, Finn, go over there. And, and he's excited to do it. But now it's a little more fulfilling because Finn's going to have, he has opinions and ideas, and it feels like you're building this thing together, and it's always more interesting than what we could have come up with on our own.
I think the key I've learned is just building trust. So it's a safe environment. You trust them, they trust you, and it's a collaboration. It's everyone. Will throw out bad ideas. They can tell me it's a bad idea. They throw out bad ideas. Because it's everybody working together to figure something out. And then the cool thing, and this is what I do love about it, it never will. And we're producing a show with a young showrunner who hasn't done it before, and she was going, this isn't what was in my head. I was like, it's never going to be exactly what was in your head, but that's what's cool about it. It's like going to become its own thing because you're inviting so many different people into your world. So no, the actors aren't reading the dialogue exactly as you thought they would, but it's interesting what they're doing, and you have to embrace what that is. And it so you're like picking all these people, you're picking all these actors and other collaborators, and you're throwing it all together, and you just are like, and then something results. Like Stranger Things season 1 is not what was in our head. It's something not wildly different, but definitely it's different than what we imagined, and that's because of I mean, the actors are a big part of it, but it's not just the actors. It's everybody who's involved and contributing, from the cinematographer to the colorists, the composers to everything. And it's kind of what Ross was alluding to. I think it is you need to maintain control over it, and everyone's going to be looking to you, but also, especially if you surround yourself with very talented people, leave them alone. I think a lot of people, I don't know, maybe it comes from insecurity, but are trying too hard to control everything, and I don't think people work well under those conditions. I think people like to be given a certain amount of freedom and trust. People do better work under those conditions. You want them to feel as though they're contributing, not just feel as though they're contributing. Like even the camera operator, like the cinematographer, they all feel like they don't feel like they're like gears in a machine. They feel like they're part of the creative process. That you have to allow the actors, everybody, to be a huge part of the creative process, and then it's like everybody's doing this whole thing together, and then everything gets better. And it will be different than what you think, but it's hopefully will be cooler and better than what was in your head, which is certainly the case with our show.
I mean, it's fascinating because you kind of evolve from this very Hitchcock approach, which is the film is made before it's shot.
Yeah.
And then realized, I mean, you experienced this,
that's
through your
exactly
work,
right. Yeah.
to kind of a much more collaborative process.
Yeah. But I do think you should go in like you should, for us, it's so weird. It's so much like writing, the more I think about it, that you should have, it should feel very organic in the moment, but you really should, it does not hurt to plan as much as possible. So Ross and I go in every day thinking we know what exactly we're going to do. Sometimes that is true, and we are just executing a vision. When it comes to these extremely complicated visual effects sequences, those are, and the actors hate it. I made the mistake of showing David some previs, where it's kind of like a little cartoon version of himself. That did not go well. He's like, because it just makes them feel like puppets. I get it, And I'm just like, no, I'm just trying to show you where the monster is. I'm not, don't perform like this little weird animation. But, and I get that impulse from him, though. I mean, because he's a real actor, and they don't want to feel like that. And I made the mistake in that moment of making him feel like that. But those sequences, because of the visual effects, and some of you probably are playing around with that kind of stuff, does have to be planned out a lot more. So those are, we'll have the storyboards of every shot, and we'll put them up on a board while we're shooting, and then we just cross them off one by one, and we are just shooting. That is the Hitchcock thing. I mean, we are just shooting exactly what was planned, whether it's animated or just a storyboard, because there's really no other way, at least with current technology, to do a sequence like that. And the key is just finding a way when you're shooting that stuff to make and we've gotten better at this, to make it feel like the actors are still acting and not just sort of checking off boxes.
Okay. And what are you watching now?
What do we watch?
Yeah, what kind of movie series?
I mean, we try to keep up with. I mean, movie-wise, we try to keep up with. Everything, whether it's Eddington or Superman or Weapons that we saw. I think it's important for us to keep up with that stuff as much as.
I've got a 4-year-old, so I've seen Bad Guys 2. I've seen, not bad, it was not bad. How to Train Your Dragon, which I thought was excellent.
4-year-olds watching this?
Yeah, she's into it. Yeah.
I can't trust his taste when it comes. He'll come to me with he's like, "Have you seen this kids movie? It's incredible." And I'm like, dude.
No, How to Train Your Dragon got cheers, Ross. You're the out of touch one. You're the out of touch one.
I'm out of touch.
So no, I'm trying. I think it is important to try to watch everything. This was years ago. We somehow off of season 1, our agents got us meeting with Spielberg, and that was, I was like, one of the things I was most impressed with him. I mean, he had seen everything current. Obviously he has knowledge of everything, but he's really trying to keep up. And I think it's actually even stuff that you're not super interested in or stuff. I think it's good to watch everything. Like I was saying, stuff that works and doesn't work. You can learn just as much from the stuff that doesn't work. I think. I think it's actually, like I said, can be almost discouraging to only wait and watch the great stuff because you're like, oh, geez. But yeah, what else are we watching? I don't know. I'm a little behind on the TV, I gotta be honest. With a kid. He's a little more caught up.
Have you watched a series?
Have I watched? Yeah, I've watched this. I've watched television before. Believe it or not. Yeah. I mean, Gilded Age is my comfort food. Love that. There you go. We got one applause.
Not as much as.
Well, it's not big in the college crowd, I don't think. It's more, I obviously watched The Bear. I'm excited about the new, our friend Noah did the new Alien series, which I'm really excited about that. So there's some amazing TV coming out. Obviously, Adolescence was incredible. It's been a good year for TV as well.
And if you were not filmmakers or pursued a career in filmmakers, or somehow it hadn't worked out, what other career would you aspire to, or you think you would have pursued?
Well, our backup, we were gonna
this is great.
we were gonna be like theme park designers, like Imagineer, like Disney Imagineer. That was like the backup plan. There's like 5 of those people in the world.
We don't know math or engineering. It would have worked out.
Come up with like the rough concepts.
I don't think that's a job.
Yeah, I don't know. So thankfully this worked out.
There's something about not having a real safety net that I think is good. But I mean, to be perfectly honest, though, part of it was like, it was because we had been interning, so it was like there is a path through that we almost took, which is like assistant jobs to, creative executive and staying in that lane where, reading, starting, because we were good at reading scripts and doing coverage, so we figured that there was a path to stay in the industry through that, yeah.
So that is a good path if you want to be a producer. That's a good path that you can take. But either way, it's a good first job because you're reading just a lot of scripts. Or even our assistant Caitlin, she was our assistant for how many years was it? 3. Wait, she wanted to be a writer, not a producer, and then we put her in a writer's room because then now she's
doing she's doing a animated Stranger Things, and she's doing great. She's written books, and so that but that's because she was assisting, writer directors. But if you assist at a production company, it's a great way to lead to producing. And so that was a true backup, not his whatever made up Imagineers thing.
So you never wanted to be an astronaut or something like that?
No.
Okay.
We love theme parks.
Okay, I think this is actually my last question for you. Then we're gonna.
Okay.
Okay. Where do you think the industry is going? I mean, there's.
And this is the $1 million question.
Well, I guess.
I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of a weird, scary time, and then you have AI, which nobody really knows what that's going to do. Try not to worry about that. And then there's and then there's the streaming, and there's theatrical, and the fight for theaters, which we believe in, obviously. I don't know.
Remember when the internet was early days? I don't remember who it was. It was one of the, I don't know if it was Lucas. I don't want to misquote someone. But it was someone on that level, and they were talking about how, the next great film is going to be from some kid in his basement.
This is Coppola. It was Coppola.
Yeah, it was a kid in his basement in Ohio, And like, he's not totally wrong that YouTube, TikTok, all of this is taking a lot of, it is taking, not that there's not great stuff there, great content, everyone's favorite word, but at the end of the day, like, what we're doing and what you guys here are teaching at Chapman, that takes a lot of years of work and practice and time, and I don't think AI can do it, and I don't think it's going to be that simple. So I think now everyone's sort of proclaiming sort of the death of whether it's theaters or movies, or everyone's short attention spans. It's like a great story is a great story, and like Matt and I, you have to sort of adjust to, like we saw with Stranger Things, like we saw a shift happening in television, and we jumped on it. So some of it was, yes, this is what we'd always wanted to see, but we also saw that things were changing in television. We saw an opening. We saw the True Detective trailer. We watched the Nick. So this is one reason you got to keep up, because you just like, we were watching stuff, even trailers, and going, wait, something's happening, and maybe there's something we can do here. So I think, but at the end of the day, it's still storytelling. So slightly, we took what we were inspired by, but it's a totally new medium in a way. We're telling an 8-hour, 10-hour, or 12-hour movie, but still just storytelling.
But and two other things I guess I'll say. I have been I find it encouraging that sort of the as much data and trying to rely on the sort of algorithm to predict what people will and won't like. When you look at something, the stuff that has really exploded, and just specifically talking about Netflix, and this I know from speaking to them, they did not predict any of this. So adolescence, not on the radar. Squid Game, not on the radar. K-pop, not on, like this stuff. You can't predict it. And I think if you look at what is exploding on the service or any of the services, and it's good. And I don't think it's that much more complicated than that. And even Baby Ranger is so fucking dark, but like it's good. And I think that that's encouraged me in terms of that the audiences are responding to this, and they're not responding to stuff that has been, this mush that's been designed to appeal exactly to them. Like that, they spit it out. They don't like it. They're responding to stuff that's quality. And also, I do feel, and I do love, we love streaming. We love television, watching stuff at home. I also I'm encouraged. I feel like people are craving like that sort of communal experience again, and not wanting to be just all alone in their homes, and they want to be out with other people. And I don't think that's going to go away. We're kind of banking on that. So we're also hopeful that the two things can coexist, that I can enjoy something on streaming and then also go to the theaters for an experience with a group of people. So I think actually theaters are going to be totally okay. There's just still recovering from the pandemic, and I think I'm encouraged by the type of stories that are resonating with audiences. So I think it's not all doom and gloom in my mind.
Well, that's encouraging.
Yeah.
That's okay. Okay, we're gonna open it up to the audience. I just want to first say they cannot answer any questions about the Paramount deal, so please don't ask, or they can just.
We get an oh no.
What? So how does this? Do we just point it? Or are there microphones? Okay, well we'll start right here in front.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm a sophomore screenwriting student, and you guys were talking a lot about like exploring skills outside of your area of interest and expertise. I was wondering how you would recommend starting that, because for me at least it feels like there's like an impenetrable barrier because no one wants to work with a newbie.
Oh yeah. I mean,
don't always people need help on their short films. Like I remember not being able to get anyone on the weekends to do stuff. So it feels like if you are willing to put in the time, unless things have changed, I can't imagine. It's hard to get people to work for free, on a short film. So I feel like there's got to be opportunities if you're willing to put in the time, whether it's to help produce someone's visual storytelling, or whatever, even if it's a smaller project. I mean, if you're willing to put in the time, I feel like there would be people.
But part of me also was talking about just not signing up for this cinematography class, not paying attention in the cinematography class. I know, actually, I don't think I took it, and so just trying to...
Wasn't it Bill Bill?
Oh, yeah. I don't know why I didn't retain any of that, but I was...
That's a great name. What are you talking about?
Either through classes or getting on one of these student film sets and just trying to figure it out.
Were you speaking specifically about writing or about in general?
I always feel nervous about branching out because no one wants to work with someone who's never tried it before.
I feel like I think they will if you're willing to put in the time. That's what would be my hope. I remember just like some of my favorite experiences early on at Chapman was like I never dolly gripped before, and I went and just dolly gripped for this short film for a day, and I met so many friends doing that. And I didn't really know how to do it at all, but you just sort of you figure it out, and I loved it. So, just fake it till you make it.
Thank you.
I don't know how to. Why don't you guys pick something?
I don't want to just pick people from the front.
Yeah.
There's
a sign. Wow, that's ambitious.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Anyone's got a sign. What does the sign say?
Well, we're gonna find out, I think. I'm on the edge of my seat.
Alright, so I'm Keegan. Me and my friends here, the 5 of us, we're all freshmen here. And at opening convocation, we were given these stoles, and we were told to make meaningful friendships and have them sign that. Faculty members and influential people. And I think for a lot of us here, an initial draw to Chapman is your successes. And so we had been sitting in a standby line since 10:30 p.m. last night.
There they are.
Waiting to get tickets for this. And we were wondering if you would do us the honor, please, of signing our 5 stoles.
Of course.
After the.
Come up.
Any questions? See, this is what happens when you go to the back. Stick to the front. Okay, young lady over. Yes. Hello. Appreciate the outfits.
I do.
Just pointing it out.
I should send a pic to Joe Carey.
Hi, my name is Gabby. I'm a screenwriting major and I'm also a sophomore. I was writing that as screenwriters, how do you ensure that outside noises and what people are saying doesn't negatively impact your work? And when or if at all do you listen to them? And shout out to them, they're my residents, so happy birthday.
Yes, good question.
I honestly, the most important thing, we heard so many, stupid comments when we, sent people Montauk, which is the pilot script for Stranger Things, which is 90% of what made it on screen. And I think, we were told to take out the kids and just to focus on the sheriff and so many bad comments. And I think, but at the end of the day, we believed in it. And I think, but early on, I will say, when we were learning to write, we were not very bad at listening to that, inside yourself. When we finally wrote a script that worked, not it was a great script, it worked, we knew instantly that it worked. And I think prior to that, a lot of it was, we spent a lot of time on this, we put a lot of thought into this, and that doesn't, you could put 2 years into something, it doesn't mean it's good. I think it really, once we started listening to that gut instinct of like, I feel good about this, I feel confident about this. Not that you can't get feedback from other people, it can be helpful, maybe something confused them or whatnot, but at the end of the day, that is your compass.
Okay.
You picking? I'm confused. Are you picking?
You
You
pick.
pick.
You.
Okay, I'll pick.
Don't. You got to go beyond just the front row.
Okay, well, look
Good.
what happened last time.
Uh,
Way in the back.
Well, I mean, like-
I see some light-eyed person way up there, left hand on the left. I should have like a laser thing.
You're gonna blind someone. What
No,
are you thinking about?
in their eyes.
Okay. I know you guys like from the start focused on horror and talking about horror short stories. I just kind of wanted to ask, what is your idea of like a horror film, or just like horror as a genre? Like, what do you look for?
Oh man, I think, well, this maybe isn't the answer to your question, but what I love about horror, and I love it particularly when you're starting out, is it's so much about atmosphere and dread and tone, and so much about it, and you're creating it with both the lighting and the camera, and it's about that as much as it is sometimes about story. It's just about what kind of mood can you create cinematically, and I think that's why we were so drawn to it as young kids, and it's just so much dynamic. And I think you see so many filmmakers now really getting a start in horror for that very reason, because you don't need a lot of money to do it, to create something like that kind of atmosphere or dread.
Thank you. Over there, and then we'll come right. I don't know how this works. Pointing out corner in the back, second row in the back there. Young woman. There, yeah.
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm a first-year screenwriting student, and I want to ask, how do you develop characters and make them unique, and how do you also kind of separate yourself from the characters, if that's your process?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I guess we found, so we don't get so hyper focused on figuring out everything there is to know about a character and the backstory and exactly who they are. We have a good sense of the type of character we're looking for. Oftentimes they're roughly based on us or family members or people we grew up. Sometimes they're that hybrided with characters from movies or shows or whatever. So we throw out all these kind of almost sort of character tropes / inspired by people in our own lives. And then, but I was saying this at dinner, but you can read our pilot script, and they are kind of rough sketches of characters. So they're not fully fleshed out or developed in the way they ultimately were. And I think so much came from, for us, and this really only works for television, or I guess it could come to, but so much of it came through casting in terms of everyone in the cast, I think, influenced the characters in a very meaningful way. So their personalities, and as we got to know them, kind of fused with the characters. And the more we embraced that, the better I thought the characters got. So, especially as we were introducing new characters, when you say Ross, and so like we had a very specific idea, say, of what we wanted Mike to be, but it was really just, we wanted him to be like Elliot from E.T. It was like that generic. And then we saw Finn, and he was Finn, and had a very specific, weird energy to him, and was unlike any kid we had seen on screen. A lot of these kids, I just hadn't seen them on screen. They felt like real kids. So we basically took a lot from them and how they were behaving in real life, because it felt so much more specific and unique than anything we had written, and put that and injected that into the script.
But I think it's okay to start a little, like, and same with story, you treat story the same way as characters. You can start a little, like, tropes, and then you start, it's like nerd, it's like, and then jock bully, and then you just start, and then, disgruntled sheriff, and then you just start to, and that's okay, and I think you can stay at that level for a while as you're plotting out your story, and then you start to, either with casting or just to start to dig deeper into them. And then it's like, well, what can we do with this trope? And can we flip it? Is the prep douchebag of Steve, is it more interesting if it's not that simple? And I think, and you start to shift that character. And I think that's why writing can be so fun. But I think it's okay that when you're first starting out, and even for the first pilot script, that these characters don't have all the dimension that you might want, and then you just keep pushing them.
I do think that held us back for so long, because you're trying to do all of that immediately, and sometimes you need to let it happen organically rather than trying to force it right away. Or even like so much you can discover in the writing process. Like this is an example. It was in season 2, and we had 2 characters. We had Steve and we had Dustin, and they had nothing to do. We were like, I don't know what to do with them. They weren't fitting into any storyline. Specifically Steve, we didn't know what the hell to do with them. And then we're like, well, what if
We're like, well, they're both heartbroken.
Yeah, why don't we just shove them together and see what happens, because they both have nothing going on. And then resulted in one of our favorite things in the season. So that was a moment of like, actually something was just not working, and it led us to a solution that brought out something really interesting in both of those characters. Because just putting them together made, for both of them, made both of them much more interesting, I think. So I don't know, I just don't put too much pressure on yourself at the top of the process, I guess is what we're saying, and allow room for discovery, either in the writing process or through casting, or in our case, both.
We're going to take 2 more. So I'm going to take one in the front and one in the back. Okay, you.
Thank you both for being here. My name is Paul. I'm a grad student in screenwriting, and most of my projects I've directed myself. So far, I haven't had any directors take on my projects, and so I wanted to ask you, what are the advantages and or disadvantages of being a writer-director, and would you ever develop material you would want another director to take on?
I mean, well, we do have, we have guest directors come on the show all the time, which was honestly nerve-wracking when we did the first season. What we told Netflix that we wanted to direct all 8, and that was the plan. They agreed to it, and then we needed more time to write, and so Sean Levy, who was our producer at the time, luckily raised his hand and said, I really respond to these scripts, and I'd like to do 2 episodes. And it was really scary to let someone else in on what you feel like is your baby, but it was honestly a freeing experience. It's not, every time we have a guest director, they don't do it exactly how you would do it in your head, and it can be scary at first, but ultimately, they do stuff differently, but sometimes it's better than you could have ever imagined, and it's kind of been a freeing experience. But also, the benefit, as you know, I'm sure, of doing both is that there's just more control, and you can really get it exactly how you want in your head. So I think, our goal moving forward, in terms of at least, doing movies, would be to, continue to sort of focus on writing and directing our own material.
Okay, one more question. Way in the back, there's a light on a person who's got their hand raised right now. Yes, you. They see you? Yes.
Hi, my name's Talon Confer. I'm a first-year screen actor. I was just wondering, like, specifically, you guys were talking about how you really like plan things out a lot, especially like in your time here. And I was just wondering, like, while in college at Chapman, like, if you ever came across like roadblocks or things just didn't really go like as planned, you were just feeling kind of down and demotivated. Like, what your what you had, like tools you had to kind of help bring you out of that and just like keep like moving forward and past those like rough patches.
I mean, yeah, I mean, that, I guess, it's a good question because, and this is something I wish I had told myself too, although most of this occurred post-Chapman, but, I mean, it's true, Chapman, is it just, I mean, you guys have chosen it, I mean, it's a brutal field that you're trying to get into, because it's just, I think it's brutal particularly because you're putting yourself out there, like, kind of in a very vulnerable way. I think this is true of everything, writing, directing, acting, whatever you guys are doing. It's particularly vulnerable, and people are going to say they don't like it. They're going to slam the door on you. It's hard to not be hurt when that happens. And we, I don't know how many. We've been hurt so many times before we even got in the door, and you start to question yourself and so on. And I think you just have to realize that that's part of the journey and the process, and it's going to get to you because you're a human. But try not to let it knock you down. Like it's that cheesy thing of like, just get back up. But it's true. You're going to get punched in your face, you're going to fall down, and you just have to get back up. I feel like the people who just get back up repeatedly and are that determined are more likely to break through.
Well, and I think though, it's like this is talked a little bit about earlier, which is like it's one thing that kind of protects you from that, because you are going to get criticized. It doesn't matter what level, how much success you've had, it's going to keep happening. But it's like, if you remain your harshest critic, and if you're truly honest with yourself, and don't beat yourself up, and don't be mean to yourself, obviously, but at the same time, just be truly honest when you're working on stuff. And if it's not fully working, don't get mad at yourself, but just be honest about it. And I think if you do that, and you're truly honest with yourself, then the words of other people, because you are going to have to share this with, whether it's just your roommate or it's to the world, people are going to have opinions. And I think, but if you just feel truthful in what is working and not working about your own work, then I think you'll be fine.
I feel like I've read every possible mean thing about myself. Like, you just kind of at a certain point it doesn't. But I also got off social media, so that helps. It's just so nasty. Like, it's just like, I don't need this in my life. I don't need to hear.
But even with that stuff, I think for me now, it's like, again, it's like there's criticisms that I agree with. There's criticisms that
That's true.
And I'm like, okay, that's a fair point. I agree with you. I didn't like that either, And I think, it wasn't, we tried to make it great, it didn't work. But then sometimes people say something, I'm like, well, I disagree with you. And I think having that, being, at least being able to be honest with yourself, keeps you, okay.
But one last, it's sort of related to this, but not totally. But I have noticed that, like, as we work now with a lot of people over 10 years, and a lot of really amazing creative people, I found that the people who are the best at their jobs are really hard on themselves and are frequently dissatisfied with their own work. And these are the best. They're doing the best work of anybody we know. And the people you meet who think they're amazing at their job are typically not amazing at their job. Because I think it's because they're not ever pushing themselves. They're not pushing themselves to ever get better. They're just like, this is me on the top, and then those who are, and it's a tricky balance, because you need to be really hard on yourself without being miserable at the same time. So that's how you have to figure out what that balance is, like being satisfied when things are going well, but being hard on yourself enough that the work that you're pushing yourself pushing yourself constantly for
But a lot of people, let's admit, and I've bet a lot of people here, we're all really insecure ultimately, and that's okay. I think that's just sort of part of being an artist.
We don't know. Yeah, anyone good is.
Do you know anyone who's secure in themselves? No.
Every no. I think every artist, every actor we know, even those who seem very confident, are very deeply insecure people, and that's probably why we're all doing this, to get some sort of validation by the public that we're actually pretty cool, when deep down we know we're not.
Those are some inspirational words in this.
Yeah.
That's a time for your okay, and then a mic drop. I think.
Maybe we'll do one light question.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, we'll do one more bonus question. Over there. Yes, you. This better be a light question. Beautiful.
Hello. What is your go-to D&D class and race?
That's a good light question. This is, oh man, do I even say this out loud? What? We really never played D&D. We played Magic the Gathering, which was a very big 90s game, but and that was the intention, and obviously Magic the Gathering came about in the 90s, so we're like, well, what's close to Magic the Gathering? And that was D&D. So I don't know, I don't really have a class and I'm so sorry.
Please keep this in this room. That's all I ask.
Thank you very much.